G'day, how are you there? Diesel here for Getting Around Oz, camper trailer travelling, and thanks for clicking on the video today. Now, over the last few months, or actually more like the last 6 months, 7 months maybe, we've been doing a canopy fit out or build in the back of our 2016 Ford Ranger here, and here's a bit of a look at the work we've done. Cutting out all the boards, all the carpentry and all the bits and pieces. I've got the shelf measurements. Preparing the water pump, cable tie, all this like this, because this one here is obviously going to go on a board either that way. I have popped the switch out. That was nice and easy. You can see on the screen there it's all these switches here, because with the shunt you want to run all your gear into the shunt. For 240 sockets are on this side here, and these cables coming out the side here, and as a battery will fit in here, no worries, and these cables are just going to go straight out through. Probably wondering how the hell you're going to be measuring bloody how much water you got in this tank. That's the front there. They have the option to screw them in. They also have the sticky on the back here. Something like that. Something like that. We're ready to put this in. It's time to give you a look at the control hub in here. So there's a lot going on here. Now, it's been a few months since we finished this one off, and the 12 volt setup that I've had in here, I've taken on 2 camping trips. I've been sort of using it around town every day. As you can see, there is a fridge that lives in here permanently. And I feel like now's the right time to tell you about what I went with, why I went with it, the changes that I had to make and why, because there was a few, the installation challenges that I had, cabling and fusing, what I had to change up, and how it's been for me. Now, I've just been up front with you. All the gear that we've used in this build is iTechworld gear. I did buy all the gear in this build. It's not sponsored. One thing I didn't pay for was there was one cable that I had to use to run from the inverter to the battery because I was one cable short. They were good enough to help me out with that at the last minute because I was stuck. Because I bought the gear, there's nothing I have to or I can't say. You know, everything is going to be my experience, and I'm going to give it to you straight. If you are looking at any iTechworld gear, they have given us a discount code, 5% off, or it's a minimum 5% off that you can get. So GAA5, just put that code in the basket there if you're looking to buy anything at all, and grab yourself a discount. Now, selling on the gear was a bit of a challenge. I had the build, or the way everything was going to go in my head. It was a case of trying to find out what I could fit, to be honest with you. Fitting things in was the biggest hurdle I had to work out, I'll be honest with you, and it did change. The first battery that I actually got, and I brought it home, was a 200, I think it's a 220 SS, which is the iTechworld Slimline battery. The idea was that one was going to go, I was going to put a sideboard. This is what I was always going to do, but I was going to put a sideboard in the side there, right? And I was actually going to put the battery across the side there, and I was going to put the inverter in front of that, or on the, the other side of the board here. But I ended up settling on this one here. Now, the guts of any system is the battery. Okay, now there's a lot to consider when you're looking at batteries, and for me, we had AGM. We had a couple AGM batteries actually, and then this time last year we went with a 120X. That was the first lithium battery we ever had. AGM versus lithium, I'll keep it quick because I know a lot of people are now up to it, but if you're not, AGM is a lot heavier, but it is a lot cheaper. The battery capacity of an AGM, generally, most people will sort of say 50 to 60% of the capacity is what you get. So if it's a 100 amp hour battery, work backwards from there. But lithium is more expensive. There's no doubt about that. But once you go to lithium, you don't go back. I promise you, you'll never go back because they're so much lighter. You get so much more out of them. Another thing about a lithium battery versus an AGM battery is these things here have a battery management system built into them, which is designed to shut the battery down before it actually dies. So it'll get down to a point where, you know, maybe it's like 5 or 10% of what's left in it. It'll shut itself down so you can't damage the battery, whereas AGM, you don't really get that. So with this one here, I've chosen to go with a 240X Pro. It is a drop-in replacement. It does have a 5-year Australian warranty. It is rated for under-bonnet use. It is IP67 waterproof rated. It weighs 23.6 kilos. It does have a continuous discharge of 250 amps. Peak discharge of 500 amps, which is 5 seconds worth. Life cycles, again, is another big pro of lithium versus AGM. Charge this one, you know, from 0 to 100%, you get 4,000 charges out of it. Whereas if you're charging at least from half or, you know, something like that, you're looking at 8,000 plus. Battery trays, yes, you can get all sorts of different sizes aftermarket, but for me, I just went with the one that they make there. It's made for it. Construction's pretty solid. It does have the rubber matting on the bottom here to give it a bit of shock absorption, you know what I mean? And a couple of tie-down straps there. And the reason I went with this one was it was the biggest I could get for what I could afford, but I thought this one will go behind the fridge here. Then I made the decision to put T-nuts underneath the subfloor before I put it in. So I measured essentially where the fridge slide was going to go. I measured where the battery tray was going to go, and then I put T-nuts in for the fridge slide, and I put T-nuts in underneath for the battery tray as well. And then it was a case of just fixing the battery tray on top there with the 4 screws, which was really easy. Alright, so we're in the back of the car here now, and this is the battery box here. Cabling wise, this one here is the 40 amp A&L fuse that comes with the inverter kit, so that's the positive coming in there. This cable here is for the control hub. That cable there is for the AC charger, and that one there is for the temperature sensor. And then on the negative side there, we've just got the negative cable that runs to the hub itself, which I'll explain in a bit. The fuse holder itself, that lid comes off, one little screw in there and that one there, and that fits in nice and easy. Now all the rest of the cabling is going out of here through the gap there and up into the hub. Now this one was a late decision. I wasn't going to go with an AC charger, and the truth is you don't need one, providing you can get the charge you need from your car or from solar. I decided to, I guess it was a more of a, in case I ever get in trouble, it's easy to do. For me, it's pretty easy to run a cable into the back of the canopy here, plug it in and give a charge up. And also, if there's any problems with the camper trailer, or there's vice versa, because I have one here and I have one on the camper trailer, I can use the inverter either from here or from the camper trailer to charge each one, you know, if there's a charger issue or something somewhere. So for me, it's more of a backup. This is the newer BC40. It's a 40 amp charger as opposed to the 20 amp, and I think they do a 60 amp charger as well. For those who don't know, we've actually got the old 20 amp one in our camper trailer. I've had it in there about a year. It's done a good job. The new one is a little bit thinner. On-off switch on the end here, kettle plug connection, which is there. So got the positive and negative terminal, which are all nice and easy. They do supply 2 sets of cables. One set of cable is only for the 6mm terminals, but they do supply another one that actually has an 8mm terminal supplied to that. When I was in there the other day, I did get a rough idea about the sort of spot I want. I kind of want at the top there. I am being mindful of the cables that are going to come out this side here, and the cables are coming in this side from the inverter and that sort of stuff there. I want to keep it high above the battery. I don't want to go too high because I am going to have a lid that's going to fit in here, and I'm actually going to have some brackets that are going to come out of the top there. That's all tied up. Again, it's all ready to go. It's actually found washers for that one there, so as you can see, nice and easy fit on there. I can fit on the roof and the brackets, and I can fit the battery will fit in here, no worries. And these cables are just going to go straight out through the hole that's going to be here, and I've got enough room to plug in the power cable to charge him. So power cable, this is this one here, so this one actually will come out of the box to plug it in if I need to. Cables wise, obviously got the positive there that's coming straight through the battery here, and the negative, that one there is running to the hub. Now once I decide on the battery that I wanted and where it was going to go, I knew I wanted side access for this build here. I wanted access to all the switches and all the sockets because I wanted a little shelf here where I could put stuff and leave things. And I ended up sighting on the iTechworld, I think it's the premium control hub. There was another one which I had, but they were good enough to let me change it out for this one before I started the build. So this one here has the battery monitor built in. It has the shunt inside it. Thankfully, I didn't have to find somewhere to put the monitor. Initially, it was going to go on the back of the car there, but it was nice to be able to have that one on there, and everything's all pre-wired and pre-configured. I don't have to stuff around with it. I went with the 40 amp DCDC charger. I think there's a 20 and a 40 amp. I don't think there's a 60 amp. For me, I figured with that battery capacity that I've got, I normally drive for a few hours at a time, or I'm driving all day to get to somewhere. So 40 amp I figured would be enough to get it charged. At this point in time, it has proved to be the case. And also this hub has all the fusing and everything built in. When you're thinking about a build, you're definitely thinking about all the cabling you need, where you want to run it, how you're going to run it, where you need to run it, what type of fusing you need, and where you need to put that stuff. There's a lot to figure out there, but I thought this would be the go. It has the 5 switches. They do supply with little labels, which I'll put on there now as well. We've got the 3 USB-A sockets, which are 5 volt each, and there's a 30 watt USB-C connection. And these two here are 6 sockets there. Wondering what's going on with the 2 red cables here. Clearly I've just used the red cable because it suited the length. So these are the 2 90mm2 cables that I got from iTech, which quite a challenge to work with. The wiring for this took me a couple of hours because this wiring here is super difficult to manipulate and get to the angle you want to get it to. I mean, you can see there's a few different bends and different things going on here, but you can see it's not rubbing on there, it's safely going into there now. Going into here, remembering I've got the inverter going into the load side of the shunt. I've got the cable coming out the bottom here, which is coming out of the shunt, which means I'm going to be able to connect this one to the battery. This box, and I'll probably cover off in a bit more detail, is there's working space in here, but when you start using big cables like this, it becomes quite a challenge, that's for sure. So cable coming out the bottom there, that's from the shunt. That one there was from the air compressor by memory. And you can see here we've got some cables coming in and out there. For the inverter, we've got coming out of the negative here, up in the top. It's actually coming in the top there, the positive. That one there is going straight to the battery. So now that I've got everything connected up here, it's time to give you a look at the control hub in here. Now I'm going to talk you through how it comes pre-configured. I have changed some things in here and I'll talk you through that, but I'm also going to tell you what I've done and where I've run things and a modification I've made in here and why. So there's a lot going on here, as you can see, but let's start here. So this one here is the back of the control hub monitor, or the shunt monitor. That one there runs all the way into that one there, into the shunt. Now these connections here, you got the 4 Anderson connections. This one here is for the DC-DC charger, so you've got the charging connection there, the negative and the positive connections there. This one here is for solar. And then walking you through here, so obviously got the positive and the negative. This is the back of the switches. This is the back of the USB connections. Now what's happening with all these is they all run up into here, in the front here, which is where all the fusing is. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 switches. All those connections there. So all the USB connections, all the switches, all run up through here. They're all fused, and it runs out into this one here, which runs straight through to the positive bridge bolt here, is powered by this big thick cable here that's running to the battery. Now these Anderson plugs, they are fused as well. So we've got 1 cable, 2 cable, 3 cable here, which is obviously powering this board itself. Those 3 run up into these 3 MIDI fuses here. So as you can see, everything on this board is fused. This is the modification that I've made. So this is a 100 amp MIDI fuse in here, which I've just Sikaflexed in there. I didn't want to drill any holes, but also want to make sure it's out the way, nice and clear. I want access to all these fuses in case I need to. So those 3 I can get there. This is where the challenge comes in with these control hubs, is when you're using such big bloody thick cable. I had a bit of a mission to try and find a channel, if you like, where it wasn't hitting the back of this, so I could actually bloody get it closed. And I wanted to make sure I had access to all the fuses, but I also want to make sure there wasn't any contact with anything. So what happens is everything, all the negatives, run to the buzz bar here. And then with this cable here, it runs up into the in part of the shunt there. And this big cable here, this is the negative from the inverter coming in here as well. So everything is connected to the negative here. This cable here, which is the out, we've got this one here, which runs down into the battery. So that's all the negatives taken care of there, right? Now the positives are a little bit different. This one here is the positive from the air compressor running through the 100 amp mini fuse, which runs down in under here to the positive bridge bolt. Remembering that cable there is the, I'll chuck on the screen which one it was. That was the iTech supply cable running all down through there. That'll run to the battery. Now, if you've got something that needs fusing, you're running them into the fuse like I've done there. You're running them to the switches here. Positive to the switches, negative to the shunt. So this one here is the positive from the water gauge. This one here, I believe, is the positive to the water pump. This one here is the positive for the lights. And this one here is the switch for the air compressor, not the positive, because the positive is running up through there. And in the inverter, positive is going straight from the inverter to the battery via the 450 amp fuse. That one there, you can set that to watts or amps. So that is telling you what's being used or what's coming out. That one there is the capacity of the battery, or volts in the battery. So it's capacity left, and that one's what you're using. But of course you've got the main screen there as well, which you can see. Or you can have it like that, up to you. But all the fusing, all the bolts there is nice and cable coming out of there. So with this iTechworld supply one here, it's actually got the fuse on here. So as you can see, we've got the positive and the negative here, and the ignition wire there. And the side there, there's a little cutout about like that. It's a bit smaller than I remember. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to feed the cables down through the gap there. So I've taken the fuse out. You know, that should get through there. I should be able to, I'm going to have to squeeze it through there, and I'll put the fuse in underneath. Here's the behind the wheel there, and it's just behind the guard there. Up in there is where it comes from. Sorry if the light's not good, but nice and easy through there. Right, so here we are in the engine bay here, and it's all neat. Sorry, it's a little bit dark here now, and I've got him all tied up and nice and neat. So everything's running up through here. This one here is the big cable which is running in under, and it is that one there. So it's connected onto the positive terminal on the battery there. Now the negative I have coming up in here underneath, and it's connected up to the earth bolt there that you can see. So that's bolted onto the main chassis of the car, so it's a nice healthy earth. And the ignition is this one here. That's just got some conduit there, and that's running into the fuse here. So that was a pre-existing ignition wire fuse, so I've just been able to plug that one straight in there, and that's all done nice and neatly. The tip for you as well, which is where I got stuck. Normally you would do cable from here down to your battery, right? With the fuse in between or closer to the battery. And you have your negative run to the battery, but because I've got the shunt with the battery monitor, while this one goes to the battery, the negative is going to the shunt. I didn't have another bloody cable to go from the shunt to the battery. That's where iTechworld helped me out. So thanks, gents, if you're watching this. And it wasn't ideal because the cables are bloody expensive, but fortunately I'm able to use one of the longer cables that go from there to the battery. So that one there got me out of trouble. So the other part of what was going on here was the inverter. This is the inverter that I went with. Now the reason I've gone with a 3000 watt is I didn't want any restrictions. I know it's a big bugger and a lot of people will not need one this big, but again, I've got some trips we want to do. We want to do some really remote trips, and I don't want to have to compromise essentially with anything, you know, that I do. Remember, I go camping with my kids, and going with the air fryer and, you know, these types of things. It's super handy when you're out there after traveling for a long day, and using a 3000 watt in the camper trailer. It was a no-brainer. I did really consider the 2000 watt. Very simple. An inverter, for those of you who don't know, means you can take 200 or household appliances camping with you and plug it into these sockets here, or you can actually run an extension lead out here into a power board, for example. So if you're looking to take out air fryers, coffee machines, hair dryers, hair straighteners, we use a toaster as well. You know, little toasty sandwich makers, all those types of things here. Being able to take all the creature comforts from home and actually take them out camping with you. Trust me, when you do it, I know there's a lot of haters that think it's a bit over the top, but if you can do it, you know, why not? This one here's got the switch here. Pretty simple. Got the connections on here. The cabling, again, is an optional extra. So when you're on the website and you click on, you know, the inverter or the DC charger, for example, you can choose to select the cabling as well if you want to, which is 90 millimeter cable, which is quite thick. It does come with a 450 amp maxi fuse as well. I'm hoping these are going to be long enough. I feel like they might not, but I don't have to worry about a fuse. 000 AWG cable there. It is all nicely put together. So with the inverter, I did get the remote for it. I was going to put the remote in there, which means I can turn the inverter on and off, but I didn't end up using it all because there you go. So it just takes a moment to sort itself out there, but I can turn it off and on there nice and easy. The sockets, I've got one there, I've got two there. I can just plug them in there nice and easy. With the inverter being there and all accessible here, it's very easy for me to just walk up, switch it on, switch it off. Now what I have been doing as well, I actually have this extension lead plugged in there. It sits on the shelf, so that way, because when I'm camping, I find this is the workbench where I might be making breakfast or cooking or whatever. Yeah, so thankfully all that worked out pretty well. I would like to say as well, I do recommend, and I'm going to say you should consult a 12-volt electrician before doing any 12-volt or electrical work. I did do all this all myself, but I absolutely could not have done this without the help that I got, and I got a lot of help. So thank you to Cameron from Travelling 12-Volt. I'll chuck his details in the description of the video. He's in the Adelaide Hills, so if you're in Adelaide or surrounds there, give him a buzz. He was instrumental in me working out what I needed to do, how I was going to do it, the cables that I needed, the fuses that I needed, what I need to consider, how I should do things, like everything in here. I've basically, he's been with me every step of the way. Everything I've done, quick question, bang, he's got the answers for me. I definitely couldn't have done this without him, and I take my hat off to 12-volt electricians, or sparkers in general. Like what and the knowledge you have is remarkable. All the cabling that I've used, I haven't modified any cabling. I've used all the cabling that came with all the kits and the boxes. I haven't made anything up myself. So just remember that if you're looking to make these things yourself, there is laws that you do need to abide by. So Cameron, if you're watching, thank you. And if you're wondering about this fridge here, this is the 40 litre iFrost fridge. We got this just before Christmas actually. So this is the one that can run off 240 Anderson solar. Like what? Solar? Because this one here actually has a battery, a lithium battery. I forget what bloody size it is, but basically depending on how hard you're running it, you get about a day's worth of usage out of it. So that battery costs us extra, the case costs us extra, and it's all touch screen and got the little bottle opener here as well. So that one's been quite good. Other gear we're using with this 12-volt system is the Topogy water tank gauge here. This one here is, they do a Bluetooth one, a wired one, and a battery powered one, I think it is. This is the one that's hardwired. So that's running into the hub there. This is an air compressor nozzle here. So we've got the King's double thumper there for air. This is a water nozzle here, which is for the water pump we got in there. So that one's from Pack Off Road. And also we've got the lights here. So we've got a light on the back here. We've got the light and the canopy there as well. We've got those ones there from Allspark. I think these ones here come in 30, 60 and 90 centimeter lengths. They come with the sticky to sit on there as well, so they are fixed on really well. Now all the cabling is all tied up nice and nearly out the way. I'm using a lot of P clamps. Everything has got conduit running from wherever it is, running up to either the hub or through the back there into the battery box there, and everything's been working great to this point in time, so very happy with how it's turned out.